Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest. Before we do that, here's a quote that was picked just for this episode.
If you're not making mistakes, then you're not doing anything. I'm positive that a doer makes mistakes. John Wooden.
Wow. So, our guest today, Brian Hess. That was Brian reading the quote, not me, if you didn't recognize the voice. Our dear friend of the Culture Matters podcast, founder of the Pavement Group, top contractor school, mentor to many, friend of even more, and family to the Culture Matters podcast. Thanks for coming back. That quote, can we unpack that before we go into the power in volume and prospecting? What is going on with that quote?
John Wooden, man. If for those listeners that may not know who John Wooden is, I would highly recommend you go look into him. He was the coach of UCLA college basketball, arguably the most successful coach of all time. But most importantly, one of the greatest men that I've ever read about or researched. And, his quotes go on and on and on. He was a mentor to many people that I look up to, John Maxwell being one of them. But just an amazing man. And I believe in that quote. If you're not making mistakes, then you're probably not doing anything, right? People that are doers, people that are taking action, a good friend of mine and a mentor of mine once told me that, the CEO is the dumbest position in the company. And so if we're not making mistakes, we're probably not doing things, because we're really, the actions that we take every day are based off our knowledge, our research, our intuition, our, instincts. All of those things lead us in the right direction. And so with that, if we're really doing significant things in life and business, we're going to make mistakes because, we're packing our schedules a little too full at times. Things happen that are not anticipated that we can't react to fast enough. And those things create mistakes. And if you're not experiencing any mistakes in your day, you're probably playing the game in a very conservative fashion.
How do you rebound from it?
I think at this point in my life, I've come to, expect the unexpected. It's not as surprising to me anymore. I've also given up a long time ago trying to have any sort of control over things. You learn to roll with the punches. And I think your expectations, if you can get to that point of your expectations being adjusted, that's the best place to be, because you don't have to rebound. You just expect the unexpected. And so it doesn't feel the same. It just feels like, a momentary issue that you have to adjust and deal with and evaluate and make decisions about. But it doesn't feel the same as it used to for me. And I think that comes from experience. I think it comes from perspective. It comes from, good mentorship, having good guidance and, being the steady hand yourself and representing what that means helps you be able to get past mistakes very quickly.
You think the power of volume in prospecting ties into that quote in any level?
That's why I picked it. Yeah. I think it represents, everything about what sales is to an organization. The idea of a close rate, just take that for example. That's the number of proposals that we generate versus the number of actual transactions that happen. But in the world of sales, the picture is much bigger than that, right? The prospecting list is much larger than just the number of proposals. And so when we think about it, just use the number 90%, right? 90% of the time we're being told no, whether that's the first no, the second no, or eventually a yes. But if you sign up for a career in sales, applaud yourself and give yourself some credit, because arguably 90% of the time you're going to face rejection. And so those people that embrace that, understand that, and play the game in accordance with it, those people are always going to have a healthy sales funnel because they understand the statistics. And those people that can take the emotions out of sales, and they can, most of the time, because we're never perfect, but most of the time they're going to play by the numbers, and they're not going to get their emotions involved nearly as much. And, for me, that's what that quote kind of represents. It's like, man, if we're not making mistakes, if we're not getting told no, if we're not getting disappointed, then are we reaching high enough in the prospect list, right? Are we shooting for big enough customers? If our close rate is too high, either we're choosing too easy of a client, or we don't have enough of them to be told no often enough, right? And arguably a lot of times in sales, people will go for the safe bet, but having a healthy sales funnel allows you to take those shots at those clients that may have seemed unreachable at some point in your career, and not have to depend on them, right? You don't have to depend on those opportunities, but you can still take them. And so, again, a doer, the best of the best in sales, are going to make those mistakes. They're going to have those disappointments. If they're really good, they're going to learn from those disappointments, and they're going to come back better. And, maybe the second try or the third try at those accounts that may have seemed unreachable at some point in their career, they're going to find success. And then again, the really exceptional salespeople will be able to duplicate that over and over and over again, to build what most would look at as impossible in a sales role, right? In our business, a lot of people think that selling a couple $1 million a year is a really good salesperson. And, we've got people that are, selling 15 million, 20 million, in the same role as someone that believes, because of what they've seen, what they've been told, et cetera, that, a couple million, $2 or $3 million is a really good salesperson.
You said this earlier that I want to throw this idea around, see what you think of this. 90% of the time, we're told no as a salesperson. You think there could be a relationship with that? And when we're in a position of ownership, I would say 90% of the time we're told yes. Like, so meaning if you're then, I want your thoughts on it. If you're then in the ownership, we're in ownership. We need people to be telling us no to balance out those yeses, so we get more no's from our people. I'm just curious, like, do you think there's a relationship there, or what comes to mind? Because like when you said that, I'm like, well, then it changes in a sense when we're in a position of authority.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm living that right now, right? Where you've got to really, I'm just thinking about this on the fly right now, but like you've got to use your sales skills that you developed over, in my case, 44 years of my life, to actually get the truth out of people, because they become, they look up to you. They don't want to disappoint you. They have all these, these positive things, or they're, in some cases, maybe they're afraid to tell the truth because of how they've been treated in the past. It may or may not be the leader that's in front of them, but for some reason, their family structure, their experiences in life, maybe it is the leader, maybe it is me that's making them feel like they can't tell me no, or they can't speak what they think. And that's very risky to a business, right? And so for me, I'm experiencing that now with the growth of the number of people in our organization, and the distance that's kind of created as the organization grows, the natural distance of proximity to the leader. And so we have to use our sales skills differently to be able to get to those people and have conversations, make them comfortable, ask them questions the same way that we would in a sales transaction, to be able to get the truth out of the people and really keep your finger on the pulse of the culture.
Do you think there could be a relation between how much conflict that we're having with potential customers and how much, and the type of conflict it is, constructive or, let's say toxic, or with the conflict, healthy, constructive conflict with our people, or toxic, right? Do you think there could be a relationship between I don't know. It's just a thought that's coming in. It's like, how are they? Could they be connected in some? I'll give you an example. If I'm not getting spit on by people that don't take me seriously, right? Like, where's the challenge? And then, of course, you want to agree with me because you like me. I like you too. Like, why would we? Like, so I'm meaning somebody that already likes me, it already accepts me.
Yeah, but our greatest results have come from arguments. And I've taken,
Yes, I would agree with that.
I've taken our relationships, and by the way, you learn how to argue with people too, right? Like you learn the right way to argue through creating the relationship, being more open, right? Taking the feedback in any way you can get it, and then reframing that afterwards. Like, hey,
There are countless people that have benefited from your constructive criticism of me.
right?
Yeah, when you've spoken up and said, Jay, maybe you could write more neatly.
Yeah, right, right. And I would say, like, the thought that I had when you were just saying that about customers and employees, we have become an organization that really has learned how to do conflict pretty well, and that is not something that I was comfortable with for probably 40 years of my life. I viewed conflict as a negative for a long time in my life, and I've just learned that, like, being honest, removing the emotions from those conflicts, but just being honest and speaking, from your heart, being respectful, being inquisitive about why the things that are happening that are kind of creating the conflict are happening. And that has done us well on both sides, both from employees and customers. And it's, I believe, going back to what we were talking about, like on the sales process, really digging into previous conflicts that customers have had, most of which, by the way, in the world of business, are unresolved conflicts. So when we are selling a customer, what we're asking is, what has the previous contractor done really well so that we can duplicate that, so that we can make sure we're delivering? And then what has the contractors in the past let you down with? Like, what have they not done that you wish they would have? And then, the follow-up question for me is like, well, how have they attempted to resolve that? And 9.5 times out of 10, 95 out of 100 times, the answer is they haven't really tried to resolve that at all. And so
that's the answer.
That's the answer. Or they'll say they haven't ever asked. And so, that puts us in a different category, right? We're asking questions that other people haven't asked, or haven't given a shit to ask. And, we're digging into the resolution of conflict for these people, right? To make someone's life easier, to make the process of working with our company easier and simpler than any other company, we have to dig into the existing conflict that exists, because otherwise we're just duplicating what everybody else has done, and we are not unique and we're not different. And differentiation is what sustains relationships. It's like giving them something that they don't believe can be duplicated is what sustains relationships over a long period of time. And so, for us, asking those questions and digging in and being comfortable enough to dig into that conflict has really accelerated our growth far beyond what any company that I know of has done in our industry. And I believe our sales team has really been trained to dig into that, right? It's like, how do we, and it's respectful. Like, we're not trying to, the worst thing you could do in sales is talk negatively about your competitors, but it is the ability to uncover the conflict that hasn't been resolved is the easiest way to close a deal. It's the easiest way to put yourself in a position where someone will give you a try. They'll give you an opportunity to work with them because they see the elimination of pain, right? They see the elimination of pain and improved experience. All of those things come from asking all the right questions and being willing to dig into that conflict, but being trained in a way where it doesn't come across as negative or taking shots at somebody else.
What type of activity? Volume. What do you mean by volume? What type of activity?
Yeah, in the world of sales, one of the things that we teach extensively in Top Contractor School is the ability to build a funnel and win by the numbers. And winning by the numbers means It's a simple equation. If you'd like to do $10 million in business, you have to understand first how many proposals it's going to take to get the close rate that would generate $10 million in a result, right? And then to take that a step further, if I know how many proposals I need to generate, now I need to understand how many phone calls, how many emails, how many connections on social media, how many DMs, all of the activity necessary to build a healthy enough funnel to be able to produce that many proposals. It's a simple math equation. And I think that that's what people get wrong the most, is that they don't take the time to actually figure out what it takes on the front end to be able to get the result easily on the back end, because it's the activity that creates the results. And people don't see that, right? They see it as a result, and this person's luckier than somebody else, or man, they just ran into this particular account, or, they see it as something, a lot less controllable than it actually is. Like the results in sales, there's a reason why some people in sales win at such a high level year after year after year. And as much as we'd like to say, well, yeah, they have, this personality that seems like a salesperson, I've seen dozens of different personality types win at a high level in sales. The most consistent thing that you will see in those people that win at a high level is plain and simple. It's the healthiness of their funnel. It's the number of people that they are constantly prospecting, because they understand that no matter how good of a job you do in sales, there's going to be reasons out of your control that customers churn out of your business, right? They spend less with you in a year because of financial difficulties or whatever the case is. Maybe they try a different business model, depending on what type of business somebody is in. They try a different model because of cash constraints or because a new leader came in. So when you understand that there's a certain amount of churn that's going to go out of the business, a good salesperson is always going to have a routine of prospecting and rebuilding and filling the top of the funnel, because they know how many people it takes in order to get the consistent results, or in order to get 30% or 50% or 100% growth year over year in their business. It's a math problem. It's not a closing problem. It's not there's little things that you can do within those equations that will move the needle. But the biggest miss that I see in business is the lack of a healthy sales funnel. And so what happens if you lack the top of the funnel, you put pressure on the rest of it. You put pressure on the close rate. You put pressure on the average transaction size. You put pressure on the end result because you didn't do a good enough job at the beginning. And so, for those sales leaders out there, that's the most important thing that you can see and manage, is the opportunities that you have, right? The rest of it is a training issue. The first part of it is really an effort issue, right? So the close rate, that's things that people are saying that are, raising or lowering that. You can increase that through training. But the first part is effort. It's effort and discipline. How consistently can we deliver on the promises of how many contacts we're going to make every day?
What are your thoughts on the success paradox? So I'll lay it out for you, what your insight. Based on what you're saying, the plan, right? You plan, do the numbers, figure out exactly everything you just said. How many people that would it take, or how many people would it take because based on the proposals, right? How many people, where are the people? So that's the plan, right? Then you have action, and then you have outcome. So that's proaction, growth. Now we have, so plan, action, outcome. The outcome means I have to react to it. So that contradicts the proaction. So how can salespeople overcome that paradox, that success paradox of plan, action, now I have a result, I have to react to the result? because I'm reacting. I have to respond. So I'm responding to this, which is the outcome of what I did earlier, which means how do I do what I did earlier? Because I can't be in two places at once. How do I manage the two? Like this, I call it the success. That's how I'm like looking at it, right? It's like a paradox. Like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If I'm addressing the outcome that I got from doing the good work, how do I do the good work again?
Well, I'll give you a couple different answers. And number one, I think the biggest risk that people have when I think of the word success paradox is that people fall in love with the results that they got. They stop doing the activities that actually got them the results. And so that is part of what I think you're saying is the success paradox. It's like they create another level of success and they say, wow, man, I'm really good. Like this is going to continue. It's like, no, it's not going to continue because the things that got you there, you stopped doing. Maybe it's writing handwritten thank you cards to the people that gave you opportunities. Maybe it's some other action that you were doing that really created a brand, that really created your recognition in the industry, that attracted people to come and work for you. If you stop doing those activities 60 days, 90 days from now, you're going to see that your results dip. So that, if you don't see success again, don't look at what you did yesterday. Look at what you did 2 months ago. Look at what you did 3 months ago. Because
you just gave me an insight. This is something you're really good at, attracting people. So the person in the leader, to break the success paradox, you continue doing those things, but you put people in the seats to help. Because think about it, because what you just said was one piece of it, the character piece. Then there's the literal piece of, I actually can't do it if I have to do the other thing. So this is what you're really good at, is attracting people to, follow our journey, join our mission. And I'm just trying to figure out, because there's two pieces to that paradox. One could be our character. Maybe we get high on life a little bit, excited. The other piece is literally, we can't be in two places at once, so we need people. I'm curious what you think about that.
That's part two, and we have worked together on this throughout this year of building out a different model than what I've seen in any other business because of that paradox. Because in our world, and this is probably the same for a lot of industries out there, but if you sell a lot, you have this rise in revenue that's sold, and then that revenue has to get completed, and those salespeople have to continue managing or being involved in some capacity. No matter how good the operation side of the business is, the salespeople are still involved in those transactions, especially if they're really good ones. They want to take care of and make sure that those customers are satisfied. And so what happened in our business is we broke prospecting, or building a funnel, into really three separate activities, which is marketing and branding, top of the funnel activity that raises awareness and builds a lot of momentum that allows the next piece of the process, which we call business development. These are full-time prospectors, relationship builders, high-level relationship people that are going out there and hunting the field to find new opportunities, right? And those people never stop prospecting. And in our world, we say to those people, the business developers, we want you guys to pitch to the 6th or 7th inning, meaning we want you to warm up this account. We want people to understand who the payment group is, understand why you should be doing business with us, understand our culture, understand our mission, understand our values, and make sure that that customer is a good fit for us and we are a good fit for them. In the 6th or 7th inning, now we bring the salespeople back in. So what we've created, and so the bottom piece of that funnel is the sales activity, the account management, all of that type of stuff. But we've broken it into those three different pieces to reduce the ebb and flow of the salespeople, the actual account managers, being tasked with this overwhelming amount of things that they can't handle, right? They can't handle prospecting and managing everything that they need to manage. And so that middle role that we've installed into our company has been incredibly successful for us, because we always have somebody following up, prospecting, building new relationships, doing the activities necessary to eliminate those dips in revenue that I would argue most companies experience, because the sales team is now involved in the actual execution of the work, right? Execution of whatever it is that you're selling. Like if, you know, in my old days when I sold technology, you had to set up the account. Well, that never goes perfect. There's always some issue, and the salesperson is the closest relationship that the customer has. So who are they calling? Well, that's who they're calling. When they're on the phone taking the call about the issue, they cannot be prospecting. And so we have to install something in the company that eliminates the dip that happens naturally from the execution of business.
How do we maintain the alignment with that? Not alignment. I guess how do we teach personal responsibility? How do we keep the connection? Right? How do we keep the connection?
I believe that's
my question. How do we
attracting the right people with the right values, the alignment, it's culture, really. It's the culture of the organization that drives the ability to execute this, have great teamwork. It is shared vision, shared values. We say, you know, like-minded, like-hearted people that, you know, work together. They see a single vision. You know, the name on the front of the jersey is more important than the name on the back of the jersey. That's a big issue in sales, right? It's like, you know, you get these great salespeople that think they're better than the company, right? That they're more important than the company. And you just can't have that, right? You have to have people that really care about the organization. And that's a balance, man. That's a complex dynamic, because we also want people that want to be really successful in a position of sales. They want to have a high income, but they never place their income above what's best for the customer or above what's best for the company. And that's the balance you have to achieve. And I believe that's done through people. And to take that a step further, I would argue that our success in being able to attract those people is done through telling our story really well online, right? It's like, you know, when you tell your story, when you represent your values, when you preach the same things over and over and over again, well, that shows the public who the company is. And so the people that are opposite of that, they're less likely to want to work for that company because they see it. Now, the people who are in companies that feel like I do, that have the same beliefs, have the same heart, have the same vision, and want to go have fun at work and want to be part of a really exciting growth pattern within a company, well, they're attracted like a magnet to that, right? So it's the ability to attract the right ones and detract the wrong ones through putting out content that represents the values and represents the culture of the company really well, right? It's not being somebody who you're not, it's putting out what is actually happening in the company. The fun, the difficulties, the challenges, the successes, all of those things have to be represented so that people can see what's going on. And then they choose to work for that company. And now you are actually able, in my case, I've been able to duplicate myself successfully, really successfully one time. And so now that person is working on duplicating our values and approach and sales strategy and marketing and all of that stuff many more times within the company.
You know, if we could summarize this into one sentence, what does the audience need to do right now?
When it comes to sales, put simply, you have to take a lot of action, and you have to do that on all fronts. You know, sales is a different game today. It's not the old school cold calling, emailing, etc. Our sales staff has massive success in a short period of time because of the work that we put in, because of the action that we've taken in marketing, in business development, in brand awareness, all of those things. And so I would say, you know, put a plan together of how you can be present everywhere that your customers are online, how you can show who you are, what you are, and how you would be different to them at a high level. And that's going to create the curiosity within the customer base, within the prospect base, that's going to make them more likely to talk to you on the first call.